From Queen Victoria to Angela Merkel, women have been globally revered leaders through the ages. They have defied all expectations to leave a lasting impression on their people. For India, this luminary was Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi was one of India's strongest and most influential leaders, leaving behind a lasting legacy. Born Indira Priyadarshini Nehru to Jawaharlal Nehru and his wife Kamala, Indira was born to a prominent Indian family on November 19, 1917. The Nehru family was very pro-Indian independence, and her father was also a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. As a young girl, Indira also learned to respect all people, as her mother Kamala was ridiculed in a Nehru family because of her lack of a formal education and her lower-class accent. These experiences were very important in her career because it taught her to appreciate everybody, rich and poor. After her basic schooling, Indira attended Santiniketan University to earn a degree in Indian nature and arts. In 1936, she studied at Somerville College in Oxford, where she met her fiancé, Feroz Gandhi. Feroz and Indira got married in India in 1942, and they settled in Lucknow, where Feroz worked in a newspaper. Indira was involved in the Indian independence movement as she protested and got arrested in 1943. After she was released, she had her two sons, Rajiv in 1944 and Sanjay in 1946. Finally, in 1947, India was granted independence. Due to differences in religion, the northeast and northwest regions of India, mainly practicing Islam, became East Pakistan and West Pakistan, leading to mass migration. Primarily Hindu India established a parliamentary government where the leader of the party with the most seats in Congress was Prime Minister. India chose Indira's father, Jawaharlal Nehru, as the first Prime Minister. So Indira moved with her sons to New Delhi to help her father out with this new position. Even though this greatly strained her relationship with her husband and she hated being in the public eye, Indira eventually joined the Congress Party in 1955, while she slowly climbed up the ranks until she was president in 1959. As the president of the Congress Party, Indira proved her worth by getting rid of corrupt members and defeating a communist state government. Indira's success, however, was interrupted as her father grew ill, and she left to take care of him until he died of a stroke in 1964. Lal Bahadur Shastri was named the next Prime Minister, and Indira once again stayed in the background as a Minister of Information and Broadcasting. But when Shastri died 2 years later under suspicious conditions in Uzbekistan, Indira was named Prime Minister as party bosses thought she would be easy to control. But after she was sworn in as the first female Prime Minister on January 19, 1966, Indira Gandhi proved them all wrong. By starting many popular and helpful government programs, Indira gained both support and admiration from the people. Indira toured India, where she visited the less fortunate and advocated for women in the lower class. She also addressed India's growing agriculture problem by importing grain from America and starting a Green Revolution initiative to start better fertilization and irrigation processes. To address India's endangered animals issue, she started Project Tiger to save the Bengal tiger and their habitats. In addition, she used the central government's power over the states to get rid of corrupt state governments. Indira proved that just because she is a woman, that didn't mean she would allow herself to be weak or compliant. Even though her style of governing wasn't as lax as her predecessors, she created an India that was flourishing and thriving. However, this caused dissident among older conservative Congress Party members who formed their own faction headed by Morarji Desai. Nevertheless, Indira Gandhi won her 1971 elections by a landslide, and India was on top as both the Asian and world power. But Indian joy was dampened as war with Pakistan erupted. After separating from India, Pakistan had internal tensions between East and West Pakistan concerning representation and economic opportunities for East Pakistanis. Pakistan bombed Indian airfields to prevent India from staging intervention, so Indira Gandhi sent troops to East Pakistan to help them gain independence, and East Pakistan became the independent nation of Bangladesh. On one hand, Indira's actions were admirable as she helped the nation gain freedom, but on the other hand, some say that this just worsened Indian-Pakistani relations. The war with Pakistan had disadvantages as it created debt and economic recession in India, causing poverty. Indira's public image also worsened as the Congress party officially split and state governments deteriorated. In 1975, a court in Allahabad convicted Indira Gandhi of corruption as she broke several laws during her campaign. Many people wanted her to resign and her public image was ruined. Ignoring her corruption charges and calls for resignation, she declared a state of emergency on June 26, 1975, sending protesters and opposition leaders to jail and suspending wages and the freedom of press. In India, democracy is given too much license to people. Sometimes a bitter medicine has to be administered to a patient to cure him, she stated in an explanation. This event was very important because many people use it to define her legacy, as a leader with an iron grip on her country or as a dictator heading a totalitarian government. Nevertheless, her public opinion plummeted, so when the 1977 elections came, she was voted out of office and Morarji Desai was freed from jail to become the next prime minister. The new government, however, failed to solve many of the issues India was facing, so Indira slowly gained popularity until she was re-elected in 1980. After she was back in office, Indira launched what may have been the most important event for which she was remembered today, Operation Blue Star. Many Sikhs in India rallied behind a religious scholar, Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale, who wanted to establish an independent Sikh state called Khalistan. Bhindranwale and his followers occupied the Golden Temple, the most sacred site in Sikhism, with weapons and ammunition. On June 6, 1984, Indian troops headed by General Kuldeep Singh Brar stormed the compound, which resulted in the death of 1,000 soldiers, militants, and civilians, and the damage of the temple and several holy texts. This caused the outrage of Sikhs all around the world, including a man named Beant Singh, who took his family to the Golden Temple and saw the damage done by Indian troops. As revenge, Beant Singh, who was one of Indira Gandhi's favorite bodyguards, plotted with another young guard named Satwant Singh and shot Indira as she was leaving for an interview on October 31, 1981. She died later that day at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. This event was very important in Indian history as the death tolls of violent anti-Sikh riots after the assassination woke Indians up to see that many of the problems India was facing was because of these differences in religion, leading the way to a more religiously tolerant India. Indira's legacy lives on as her son Rajiv also became a prime minister, and her daughter-in-law Sonia and grandson Rahul also hold powerful positions in Indian government today. The Gandhi family has always been very respected, all because of the actions and leadership of Indira Gandhi. A popular term was coined for Indira after her death, India's Iron Lady. It is obvious that through her leadership and perseverance, Indira Gandhi absolutely deserves this title, as she proved to be another example of a woman who defied all expectations to lead a country to greatness.